Hey everyone, welcome back to John's Watch. Today I'm taking a look at a visual novel game called A Sky Full of Stars. This game was released on Steam on December 15th, 2017. Yikes. It's developed and published by Moe Novel, who also developed and published If My Heart Had Wings, which was a fantastic visual novel, so very excited about this one. The trigger price on Steam is $20.49 Canadian, probably about $18 US or your regional equivalent. This is a coming-of-age astronomy tale. Like I said, done by the same people who did If My Heart Had Wings, which was another coming-of-age airplane flying tale. This one looks great as well.
Oh,
have a look at it.
よろしくな。
Right, thank you. Yeah, this is Akito.
アキト、外見て、外。
Rubbing the sleep from my eyes, I opened the foggy window, and when the cold breeze blew in and touched my face, it sent a chill down my spine. Is it a sky full of stars? But when I saw the stars twinkling outside, I snapped wide awake.
行こ
Yeah,
こんな時間からどこへ行く？
well, Hikari and I and...
ん？
See you later!
う。アキト
Whoa, calm down. I rushed off, pedaling my bike with all my strength, and found Hikari waiting at the usual bridge. She was running around in circles, like a dog chasing its own tail.
寒い。
Okay, calm down. As she yelled, her breath came out in clouds of white. Where's Saya?
まだ。
If we don't hurry, the sun will come up on us. I got worried and looked at the eastern sky. It was still so dark I never would have known it was almost dawn if she hadn't said so.
あ、来た。おーい。
So I assume this is when we were all kids.
さや、遅い。ごめんなさい。
Hop on. We put our stuff in the basket and Saya climbed onto the cargo rack. Then Hikari climbed on as well, holding onto Saya from behind.
もっと奥詰めて。苦しい。
Hikari squeezed Saya even closer to me even though she was already pressed onto my back.
特等席だよ。あったかいでしょ。さあ、急ごう、アキト。
Yeah. I put my feet on the pedals and guided my bike across the bridge onto the dark mountain road beyond. We suddenly picked up speed and went flying through the wind. The wind was so frigid on our faces. It was more than cold, it was painful. Saya, press your face into my back. With the weight of 3 people, the bike was too heavy to keep climbing the hill with its rough, broken asphalt. As the slope got steeper, I lost more and more power. Hikari, help me out!
任せろ。
As we slowed down, Hikari jumped off the back, grabbed the cargo rack, and started pushing.
おーりゃ
Saya, hold on tight. With a burst of added speed, our bike left the mountain road and passed through an overgrown meadow, heading into the middle of the forest. When the trail finally became too much for the bike, we threw it aside and set out on foot. And soon the forest gave way to... a sky full of stars! Oh. Nice little Reddit comment there. A large black silhouette resting quietly in the dark as if it were a sleeping beast. Oh, there's a train car. We're at a train station clinging to the mountain slope. It felt deserted, but not only because it was so early. No one used this station anymore. It was totally abandoned. Hikari climbed up onto the roof of the decommissioned train car standing at the platform. Chotomate. Saya finally made it out of the forest trail and approached the platform. Come on, take my hand. I gave Saya a hand since she couldn't climb up on her own. Watch where you step. Flop. Hikari grabbed Saya's hand from above as she lost her footing almost immediately. With our help, Saya finally climbed onto the roof and I followed after. What do you think, Hikari? While she waited for me to climb up, Hikari scanned the horizon. From up here, our field of view was wide open. We could see all the way to the distant sea. However, to the naked eye, the sky was still as dark as midnight. It was hard to make out the sea from the sky. Even so, the sky was clear and countless tiny points of light twinkled above. Hikari is searching for the morning star among them. Which one? In the eastern sky, just above the horizon, the crescent moon drew its slender arc. Just next to it, shining with a light unmatched even by the sky's only fixed star, Sirius, was a single bright point. We spread out our equipment and quickly started getting ready. Don't rush us. We set the tripod on the stand. Next, with practiced hands, we assembled the telescope. It wasn't difficult. When we finished, I pointed the telescope at the star we just looked at and looked through the finder scope. I centered it on that shining heavenly body. Then I looked through the eyepiece. However, I didn't see the object in my field of vision. It was because the finder scope's optical axis wasn't aligned. I would just have to rely on my own senses to hone in on the heavenly body. It's waning. There it is, Venus. Hold on. I changed out the lens to increase the magnification and adjusted the focus. The blurry figure of Venus leaped into clarity. That's definitely Venus, and it's waning. It's so bright. Oh hush, here you go. Yeah, stop leaving poor Saya out. This Hikari's gonna be trouble. A dog. After we took turns looking through the telescope, I opened our notebook and handed it to Saya. While Hikari held the flashlight for her, Saya drew a sketch of Venus. In star observation, you don't just stop after viewing an object once. You have to note how the object moves, how it looks, how it changes or doesn't change. You keep records over days, over weeks. This book was our planetary observation journal. You'd never know without looking through a telescope, but Venus waxed and waned like the moon. Its apparent size could change sixfold. Its location in the sky also changes, so there are times when you couldn't see it at all. We'd kept the record for ages, but lately we hadn't been able to see the planets due to raining clouds. It's been 2 weeks since our last entry. Very soon, Venus would begin rising later and later, and it would be difficult to see. So that's why we had to hurry today. The forecast for this morning had been overcast again, so I'd given up setting my alarm for the usual time and went to bed. But for whatever reason, Hikari ignored the forecast and woke up early. We owed her big time. Looking through the telescope, Venus was so bright it was almost blinding, and it was waning like the moon. Saya drew that shape carefully. As she did, the sky gradually began to lighten. It was dawn. It was 6 in the morning, coldest part of the day. It was so cold even the slightest breeze felt like it was freezing you. The three of us huddled together to fight the cold. And I brought some bread for breakfast. Wow. You're the only one who was really thinking, Saya. Great work. We shared our food and looked over our observation notes. There were entries showing Venus in full, as well as it waning with the dates entered. Later, we'd colour in today's entry and write down anything else we observed. Today's entry, with Venus in rendezvous with the crescent moon, was a wonderful addition to our observations. When you take time to observe, you can take notice of the wonders around you. And there are also puzzles to solve. Mercury and Venus wax and wane like the moon. That's because those two planets orbit closer to the sun than the Earth does. Changes in the way the sun's light shines on them makes it look like they're waxing and waning. They're always near the sun, rising at dawn and setting at dusk. That's why you can't see these two planets in the middle of the night. Even as the deep indigo of the winter sky began to lighten, Venus still shone brilliantly. That's why it's often called the morning star. It announces the dawn. Shining serenely in the morning sky as it does, even without a telescope, it was beautiful. Yet as brilliantly as it shines, when the sun comes up it would surely fade into the greater light, like all the other stars. Our observation journal is almost done. On other pages we had sketches of Mars, Jupiter and its moons, and Saturn's rings. We'd even written about the other planets, the ones that look like tiny dots even in this telescope, that we researched in the library.
Shokun, 1年間の観測ミッションお疲れ様でした。あとはこれをレポートにまとめるだけだね。
Just a little more work, and our grand project would be finished. It was a little premature, but a huge feeling of accomplishment grew within me, and soon I felt warm enough to forget the cold. Whoa, that was an amazing transition. Akari suddenly stood up and pointed at the brightening horizon.
この列車は空を行く銀河鉄道天文台。太陽系を征服しても我ら3人の旅はまだまだ終わらない。さあ、銀河の謎を解き明かすべく次なる目的地へ向かおう。
Saya clapped her hands happily. I stared up awestruck at Akari's face illuminated in the dim light of dawn and felt a sense of hope. Right! I felt we could go anywhere. We could solve the mysteries of outer space. I felt like we could reach out our hands and catch the stars. The three of us. As long as Akari is here. Not Saya though. She's very replaceable. I bet it's gonna jump until like 10 years later or something like that, 15 years later. I turned off my alarm and lay there for a while. That sounded like it might have been If My Heart Had Wings song. Can I go back to it? No, I don't think so. Damn it. Scene jump? Yes. Maybe not. I crawled out of my sleeping bag and poked my face out of the tent to have a look around. The sky was shifting from black to deep blue. The stars were almost nowhere to be seen and dawn was coming soon. Looks like I overslept a bit. The chilled air forced me awake as I boiled water on my portable gas stove. I mixed the water with the dark brown powder in my cup. The sky, free of dirt and smog, was clearer at dawn than dusk. As the sun climbed over the horizon into the pure, clear sky, the colors grew in a beautiful gradient. As always, it was a sight that made my heart feel washed clean. From my seat on the mountain peak, I had that sight all to myself while I drank my instant coffee. I'll never stop loving this. But where's your friends? I enjoyed the blissful moment as I warmed my numbed fingertips on the steaming cup. My heart, dried out and twisted from the constant rat race of daily life and studying, felt steeped in warmth and washed clean. The only coffee on the mountaintop was instant. It didn't need any richness or deep flavor, the mountain provided that. Incidentally, I called this a mountain peak, but getting here didn't call for anything as grand as mountain climbing. It's the kind of place middle-aged folks in light clothes hike to on a weekend afternoon. You can ride a bike right up here. Even so, I was all on my own. I had the scenery and cool air all to myself. For just this moment I could forget my daily life, all little irritations of school, and enjoy the solitude. It was the greatest, most luxurious moment of bliss. But it seems like a bit of a waste to enjoy this all alone. Even though no one was there to hear, the words tumbled out like an apology and I picked up my smartphone. The thin plate of glass was like a symbol of daily life and my relationships with the people on this planet. I should share this feeling with someone. The first place that popped into my mind was Takechi's, my best friend, but I shook my head and drove him out of my mind. He's no good. He doesn't have an ounce of sensitivity. It'd be wasted on him. It would just encourage his vanity. What about Hikari? I tapped my chat app and selected Saya's name, or Saya. The pre-dawn sky. I sent her a short text along with a picture. Saya, so delicate and full of sensitivity, would surely understand the depth of my emotion. She's not answering. My text sat there displaying the word unread. But that was a given. It wasn't even 6 in the morning. She's probably still asleep. Even though I knew why, it bothered me that she didn't answer. I shouldn't have sent a message. I guess I'll go home. I finished off my coffee, completely cold now, and stood up feeling dejected. If I could have, I would have stayed and prayed to the morning sun, but I had to get to my part-time job. I pulled myself together and started taking down the tent. I really like that it's not afraid to, like... It's lovely music. Yeah, I like that the game's not afraid to do, like, moments of silence. It's quite a cinematic visual novel. There's lots of, like, slow pans and stuff. It's really nice. Very, very atmospheric. Thank you. Customers always start trickling into Sao Tome's stopping by almost as soon as it opens. Unlike more famous convenience store chains, it had a rural feel to it. Also, it was right in front of the station, so it was actually pretty convenient. Konbini. Having said that, though, it was a tiny countryside station. Most morning customers were students, adults on the way to work, or old-timers stopping to buy breakfast during their morning walk. Always the same faces. That's 142 yen and change, thanks for stopping by. When the customers let up, I had a chance to take a breath. And then... Inu! I suddenly heard the excited voice of a barking dog coming from outside. Oh, she came. Saya? Shiba Inu. I went out to look and was met with the same old scene. That is, a Shiba standing on its hind legs, wagging its tail and straining its lead to the limit. And in front of him, her brow furrowed in deep consternation, stood a girl in her school uniform. It was not seen, but taken as a picture is actually quite pleasant. The girl had the kind of beauty you'd usually see in commercials. Her face was perfectly laid out, her figure was slim and elegant, and her hair shone into the morning sun. All of which made her the archetype of the beautiful schoolgirl. Of course, what was most striking about her was something else. Her 2 different coloured eyes. Aha! It was her eyes. Her left eye and right eye were different colours. One was an intense blue and the other orange, tinged with amber. Those beautiful jewel-like multicoloured eyes were now tearing up. At first glance, it seemed like the girl was crying because she was surprised at the Shiba's excitement. But actually it was something else. The girl seemed to reach out her hand, then retracted it, and then reached out again. The dog, seeing this, sensed something was about to happen and got more excited, whipping his tail back and forth and barking happily. She couldn't bear it anymore. The girl with the multicolored eyes reached out to pet that Shiba's head. Stop, Saya! Her hand had stopped just in time. You know how this ends, right? What'll happen if you play with him? That's what you said last time, but you couldn't help it, and who ended up crying then? It was shedding season, and the Shiba's fur was in the middle of regrowing or shedding a ton. To clean her fur-covered uniform last time, she'd had to buy a lint roller from us and really work on it. Oh no. Kotaro the Shibu reached out his nose and carefully sniffed at the girl's outstretched hand. Saya just stared at Kotaro with her teary, jewel-like eyes. Poor girl. Alright, that was A Sky Full of Stars. It looks very, very wholesome. Lovely coming-of-age story. I don't know if there's a patch. There was a patch for If My Heart Had Wings, which made it definitely not wholesome. So I don't know if this will be like that. But it looks really, really good. Yeah, I loved If My Heart Had Wings. And like as soon as I saw this, I thought it looked awesome. So I really like the pacing they've done with it. They're not afraid to really slow it down and just show off some of the very beautiful artwork. That was A Sky Full of Stars. Thank you guys very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!